Hey guys, welcome to another Thursday edition of the Vinyl Den, your channel for record collecting by record collectors. My name is Nick, and this week I'm going to talk about the third installment of Record Store Day for 2020. You know, Record Store Day typically happens in April every year, but this year, because of the pandemic, it got split up over August, September, and October. So I'm going to talk about the October drop date. I know we got Black Friday, Record Store Day coming up here in a couple of weeks, but it was this October was a little different than the August and September dates. Not necessarily because of the albums that were released, but I guess kind of the way it went off, at least for the store I went to. Before I get into Record Store Day and how it all rolled out and some of the stuff I picked up, there were two bootlegs I picked up in the last couple of weeks. I don't know, I've been into this bootleg kick lately, but these weren't really necessarily bootlegs of music I hadn't heard before. These are two bootlegs of albums that I'd wanted for a while, but the originals are a little bit too much for me to do, or for me to grab. The first one is Fashion Nugget by Cake. Great album. It's that mid to late '90s alternative scene, but this is one that I'd seen a couple of times online. I hadn't seen one in person, and Ian and I had gone down to a record store down in Toledo. We don't necessarily go to very often. I think I've probably gone there maybe 3 or 4 times in the last year or so. And actually, Ian found this one, and he knew I'd been looking for it, so he grabbed it, and it's kind of cool. It's on yellow vinyl. But so Ian grabbed it and he's like, "Hey, look what I found." So I was kind of glad to grab that. And at the same store, well, I came across this. This is a bootleg of Danzig's first album. If you don't know me, I've been a big Misfits fan for a long time. Not a huge fan of a lot of Danzig's music, but this is a great album, and it's one I'd been looking for a while. I'd never seen it. I'd never seen a bootleg of it. And the weird thing about this is actually pressed on. This is actually pink, which is kind of a funny color for a Danzig album, but it sounds awesome. It's a great sounding bootleg. But yeah, those are a couple of albums I stumbled across, and I'd love to have original pressings of them. But hey, I'm fine grabbing a bootleg of something just as long as the bootleg sounds good. And I've come across a couple of the bootlegs I have that aren't the greatest sounding things, but most of them sound fantastic. So definitely, I want to say I paid probably $25-$35 for each one of those. So I think those are two great finds that I grabbed lately, at least. So the actual process of Record Store Day tends to be kind of uneventful. And I guess this year was really no different, but I guess it was for a couple of minutes is kind of exciting. So I left work early that day. I was flying solo for this Record Store Day. Ian had to work till 7 a.m. So I got out at 11 p.m., went to the record store. Actually, I thought a couple people would kind of beat me to it, but I didn't get there till about quarter after 12. And I was, surprisingly enough, the first one there. And because it was in the low 40s, I decided to just stay in my car. And it was probably about 3:15 in the morning when a couple of other cars started showing up. And I think we were all kind of in the same mind frame. That was maybe a little too cold at that point to sit out there because the record store didn't open until 8. So 5 hours sitting out there was going to be a little cold. I did have my propane heater with me, so I knew I wouldn't be in that big of trouble out there for that long. But I think we were all kind of figured, we'll just sit in the cars, sit in our cars and wait till some other people kind of show up and until we were forced to get out of the car. So I guess it was about probably closer to 4 o'clock in the morning. I'd say 3:45, between 3:45 and 4. So this kid rolls up on his bike and he gets in line, gets off his bike and stands next to the door. And it was right around that same time that 1 or 2 more cars pull up and someone actually got out of their car. So I guess that kind of prompted all the rest of us to get out and go stand in line. But it was a couple of guys that were sitting out in their car felt that they should be in front of the guy that showed up on his bike. And obviously the guy on his bike disagreed with them. And so there was kind of like a good couple of minute kind of argument back and forth. It got a little heated, maybe a little bit more heated than I thought it really needed to. And because the guy, obviously, he felt that, they stayed in their car, they didn't get out, so he was going to be first in line. And, I think I finally got to the point where I even said, hey, there's only 6 of us here. So regardless of what you're looking for, there's nothing super limited that you're not going to be able to grab it. And I think it was, finally cooler heads prevailed and they just kind of got in line. But I think that's really, of all the times I've been to Record Store Day the last couple of years, I never had a moment like that where I thought that people were actually going to come to blows over line placement, really. And, I've been first in line. I've been 50th in line before. And I but when you're that high, when you're that close to the front, like I said, you're going to get what you're looking for. And, I'm glad that it didn't turn into anything more serious than what it was, just some yelling and name calling for a couple of minutes. But, like I said, it was kind of interesting there for a couple of minutes. So when I first got out of my car, I went up and set up my little chair and ended up going back to my car to go grab a drink and then, get my heater out of the back. So I'm carrying my propane tank and my heater up, and I don't remember exactly what somebody said, but someone made a comment about, I don't think I've ever seen anyone bring a heater out here before. And, I think it was definitely the right choice because it got pretty cold. There definitely seemed to be a lot of really cold people in line. And, for the most part, it wasn't too bad for me. There was a couple points where I got a little too warm and had to back away from my heater, but I think that was definitely the right choice. Here in Michigan, it gets pretty cold this time of year. It can get down to the into the 30s easily almost every night now. But I definitely think come Record Store Day, Black Friday, it's going to be my best friend sitting in line for sure. I'll have to make sure I got a full propane tank that night. But it was something cheap. I think I picked it up on sale at Lowe's for like $50-$60. Of course, propane tanks nowadays aren't cheap, but I just took the one I had off my grill and used that. But it worked perfectly out there. One of the things I really love about Record Store Day is really kind of just sitting in line and having those great conversations about, what you guys are looking for and just music in general and other people's backgrounds. And it's something that I think I really missed in the August and September drop dates. Really August, Ian and I were there pretty early. We were first in line. I actually slept for a little while on my little makeshift tent. So I didn't really talk to too many people in line. When we went out there, when I went out there by myself for September, I went out there after a long 12-hour shift and slept most of the time. But today, not for today, but for October, it was really cool. I sat there, had some great conversations, and it's one of those things that I think I've really missed about going to the record store, since the pandemic and everything happened. Because at least with the record store I go to, Dearborn Music, it's almost kind of like a Sunday ritual for a lot of us to kind of go there and hang out and wait for the store to open up, because they put out all their new used stuff on Sunday mornings. So we kind of go there and, like I said, we just kind of hang out and talk music and albums, and it's just it really felt like kind of getting back to normal, and is just a great experience. And like I said, it was really cool to just hang out for 4 hours or so and just talk music. So I guess as far as titles go for Record Store Day, I know Ian and I talked about in our little preview episode that we did a couple weeks back. There wasn't a whole lot I was looking for, but the stuff that I wanted, I didn't really know how fast it was going to go, and that's why I wanted to make sure I was pretty close to the front of the line. I know a couple of these I probably could have got later in the day or maybe even the next day, but I just didn't really want to risk it. I had the opportunity to go out there. Just sitting in the cold for a couple hours wasn't too bad. But the first one wasn't a Record Store Day release. It just happened to come out. It came out on Friday, the day before Record Store Day. I've been a big punk fan for a long time. Rancid's one of my favorite punk bands, and the 25th anniversary of "And Out Come the Wolves" came out on Friday. And I have a repressing from a couple years back, but I guess this is where the collector bug kind of hits me. This is on gray vinyl, I believe. I don't think there's anything special about the album. It's just just the 25th anniversary. And like I said, I'm a sucker for for these variants. So it's kind of a cool looking little silver or gray. But that was definitely one I wanted to pick up. And like I said, it came out the day before. I was gonna go regardless and grab it, even if it wasn't record store day. But it was kind of funny because the store the Dearborn Music is the store I went to, and the way they do their record store day is at 8 o'clock in the morning. They hand out a list. You mark down what you want, and then 8:30 you go and pay for it and pick it up. They'll send you a text message when your order's ready, but you can't go in until 8:30 to pick up your order. And I think they'll hold your order for the entire day, but. You can't go in and shop for non-record store day titles until I think it was 9:30. So I'm standing in line to pick up my other albums, and I just happened to see an Out Come the Wolves sitting on like an end cap by their used albums. So I just kind of snuck over there and picked it up and put it with the rest of my stack and went and paid for it. So I guess I broke the Dearborn Records rules, but I managed to, because like I said, it'd been kind of a long night at that point. I really didn't want to stick around for another hour or so hanging out in my car just to go pick up the album that I saw was 4 feet away from me. So that was, like I said, it was one that I really wanted to pick up, and I haven't listened to it yet, but I'm sure it's probably the same remastered edition that came out a couple years back. So I guess the first like true record store day title I picked up was I Melt With You by Modern English. Now this has the LP version, a single version, and then 2 songs from what I believe is their newest album, which I didn't even know there are bands still making music. But Modern English is one of those great one-hit wonder bands from the 80s. I've always been a big fan of this song, so it's pretty good, a decent price too. I want to say it was like $12 or $14. So yeah, sure, I'll pick that up. So the next one is one that I had originally not planned on picking up, and it was one that when I was sitting out front in line talking to a couple other guys, this album came up, and I was kind of convinced by someone else in line to pick it up. And I'm a big jazz fan. It's one of those genres I really love just putting on, when I'm doing schoolwork or whatever, or just having it on the background, just really kind of calms my soul and everything. But and Miles Davis is one that, of course he's a jazz legend. And I've got Bitches Brew. I've got an original pressing of Bitches Brew. And, so I got talked into buying this. I haven't listened to this yet, but, from a couple people I was talking to online, I've heard a lot of great things about it. This is the outtakes from the Bitches Brew session from Miles Davis. And, Bitches Brew is one of those kind of like staple albums. If you're a jazz fan, you probably have it in your collection. So I figured I'd kind of be a completist and pick this up. And like I said, it wasn't overly priced, which is something that I really noticed from this record store day date opposed to September. I felt like there was a couple of things in September that I would have picked up if they weren't like superly outrageously overpriced, I felt. But it seemed like the October stuff was probably a little bit more in line to what I was kind of used to. There was a couple of things. I know the Slave to the Grind by Skid Row. It's a good album from what I remember, when I listened to it 25 years ago, I guess. But, is it an album I really want to pay $35, $36 for? Probably not. If it was less than $30, I might have given it more thought. But this is one that I thought was going to be higher priced than what it was. I want to say this was probably, mid 30s, but it's a double LP, and it's Miles Davis, so it's going to be good quality. So the last album I picked up was probably the reason why I went to Record Store Day for the month of October. And, because initially when I looked over the list, it wasn't a whole lot that really stuck out to me. This was definitely one that I wanted to pick up. And that's Live at the Apollo Theater in Glasgow. This is from Alice Cooper. This is, I think, towards the end of the Special Forces tour back in '82. And I believe that it was after this tour is when he stopped touring for a couple of years. This is kind of an interesting period in Alice Cooper's career, and it's one that I'm not, as familiar as with it as, see a lot of diehard fans out there. Obviously, Ian's a big Alice Cooper fan, so I'm sure he could tell you a whole lot more about this period than I could. But I'm kind of a sucker when it comes to a lot of these live albums. I grabbed the $1 Billion Babies live on Record Store Day last year. Really blown away by the quality of it. And this is obviously a more recent tour than the $1 Billion Babies one was. But so I'm interested to give this a spin and see what it sounds like. And I'm sure I won't be disappointed. Well, that's all I got for you this week, guys. Thanks for checking the show out. Thanks for coming and checking out here and listening to my little story about Record Store Day and see what I grabbed. But make sure you come back this Sunday. I'll have a new episode up with Ian, and we're going to be talking about something that's been kind of a hot topic in the vinyl community the last, at least the last month or two, and that's the rising cost of vinyl records. And it's something that we'll get into it on the show, but definitely come back and check that out. If you enjoyed the episode, make sure you give me the old thumbs up, hit the subscribe button down below, and that's all I got. Until next time, keep on spinning. Peace.